Laser sights increase confidence regardless of experience level, whether you're learning the fundamentals or overcoming aging eyes. Crimson Trace, making laser sights standard equipment. Visit crimsontrace.com to find a dealer near you.
This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, now available on iTunes and other podcast clients, and on the free Gun Dealio smartphone app for iPhone and Android. Feel free to call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN or 866-825-5486, or email Tom at guntalk.com. Now, once again, here's Tom.
All right, welcome back to Gun Talk. Tom Gresham here. 866-TALK-GUN is the number. Just dial Tom Talk Gun. A lot of things going on, state to state, city to city. Huge variations in gun laws. Huge variations in the approaches. It's one of the reasons that we have pushed so hard for concealed carry reciprocity. The problem is this, for those who say, well, what difference does it make? The difference is this. You can be legal in one state, and as you drive across the state line, you have become a felon. You did nothing. You harmed no one. You simply crossed an invisible line, and now you have committed a felony. Because your permit that was good in that state is no longer good in this state. And now you're illegally carrying a concealed weapon. And they have thrown people into prison. So, as we look at what's going on state to state, we sometimes find ourselves scratching our heads and going, wow, that's weird. There's weird stuff going on out there. Sometimes it's just hard to understand. Out in the state of Kansas, they've got some, shall we say, weirdness going on. Joining us right now to talk about that is State Representative Blake Carpenter. Representative Carpenter, thank you for joining us here on Gun Talk.
Thank you for having me, Tom. I appreciate it.
All right, so if you would kind of explain what has happened, how we got to where we are, because there's this weird unloaded chamber thing, but you got to give the background of how we got to that point, right?
Yes, I can definitely do that. So
okay.
4 years ago, the state of Kansas passed college campus carry, and the implementation date, they set it out 4 years later to July 1st, 2017 is when this would go into effect. This was before my time in the legislature, but their thought process was we're going to allow universities the time to prepare themselves for this to happen on their campuses. And so in the bill that they passed, they said that if you are going to restrict firearms from certain buildings, then you have to have adequate security measures with armed guards. So if they are going to take the firearms out of law-abiding citizens' hands, then they also have to make sure that people with poor intentions or bad intentions don't get in there to harm the people who have just disarmed themselves because they're following the rules.
Right. Okay.
And so what's happening now is there's a massive push to repeal the campus carry law before it goes into effect on July 1st of this year. In 2016, Kansas, we had a lot of turnover in the legislature, and I would say that individuals who don't support Second Amendment rights as strongly as their predecessors may have are the individuals who are pushing for repealing those items.
Yeah. Got it. They want another bite at the apple. They want to say, okay, this hasn't gone into effect yet, and we have a chance to stop it because we don't believe that people should be able to protect themselves on college campuses.
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess, first of all, do you think this law is going to be repealed?
I think there are several backstops along the way. First of all, we have a very pro-Second Amendment governor. And so I don't think he would let that get across his desk without vetoing it. And then I don't foresee both the chambers being able to do a veto override on this. So I think what you're going to see, though, is definitely watch Kansas in the next week or two because we're about to have a massive gun debate on the floor. This week, we just passed out a piece of gun legislation that the AG's office, the Attorney General's office, brought to us that fixes something that was accidentally taken out a few years ago, which if 18, 19, or 20-year-olds from other states are carrying in the state of Kansas, well, then technically they're not really following the law because it's 21 here in the state of Kansas. And they accidentally struck that when we passed constitutional carry in 2015. So he's wanting to get that language back in there. And so once that bill hits the floor, it is just about amendable to everything and anything concealed carry that you can imagine.
Sure.
And so what they're going to...
You've also got this thing, I've got to ask you, who is proposing that, okay, you could carry on campus, but you can't carry a loaded gun. You could only have no round in the chamber of a semi-auto. Who came up with that?
Well, what happened there was that the regents and the universities have come up with their own policies as far as what they believe how you should carry your firearm or how you should carry it while you're on their campus. And so they're all coming up with their own different policies. And KU, which is one of the more liberal universities here in the state of Kansas, has come up with the rule of you can't carry with a round in your chamber. And there's another rule that says if you're a female, you have to have your bag on you at all times. You can't set it down immediately next to you, even if you're in class. And so they're coming up with policies, I think, to deter people away from carrying their firearms like how they've been trained or how they've practiced. And so I think that you set yourself up for fairly dangerous circumstances, and I think it's just another way for them to try to discourage individuals from carrying their firearms.
Okay, now I understand. You have actually introduced a bill to deal with that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I've introduced this bill to try to, how are they even going to enforce that policy? Are they going to make individuals take out their firearms so that they can check the action? And who's going to check it? Is it going to be the security guard, or how do they even know who's carrying one? So there's still a lot of questions that aren't answered, and there's definitely a chance for an accidental discharge to go off once that happens, especially once you start having people holster, unholster all the time. And so the question of safety comes into play, and why we can't trust citizens to be able to be responsible gun owners as well.
And, of course, the obvious point that I'm sure you've made and others have made is, okay, the bad guys are already carrying because they don't care about the rules. The only people who are going to start carrying after this goes into effect are the good guys who have been obeying the law up to this point and not carrying in there. So that's not an issue. But as you point out, every time you handle a gun, you introduce an option or possibility for something bad to happen. Leave it in the holster. Don't touch it. But I could see if somebody said, well, I'm going to obey the law. I carry my gun fully loaded most of the time, but when I go onto the campus, I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to remove a magazine, work the slide, put the magazine back in, and then I'm going to have to go back and do that again when I get back in the car. When I leave campus, that's just an accident looking for an opportunity for a location to happen. Yeah, exactly. So what kind of feedback have you gotten on, I guess this is HB 2220?
2220, we've, or at least I have gotten emails from northeastern Kansas that, those individuals aren't wanting it, but individuals from my district, they're wanting to make sure that if they go to college, so I'm only 26 years old. I joined the legislature when I was 23 and just fresh out of college. So I graduated in December, went up in January. And the thing is that I traveled to other college campuses. So how do I know what the policies are for each and every single one of these campuses? And am I breaking the policies? And what are going to be the what's going to be the repercussions of me breaking these policies? Am I, going to get fined? Am I going to get in trouble legally? How does this all work? And unfortunately, those items haven't been answered for anybody.
Right.
So
what we're trying to do, college or what happens? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, what we tried to come up with was this policy. The House Bill 2220 makes it so that it's uniform across all campuses. The colleges, the Board of Regents cannot dictate to an individual how they can carry their firearms. So they can't say that you can't have a round in the chamber. They can't say you have to have a safety on your firearm, and so on and so forth. They can't say that you have to have a pink gun with blue stripes, whatever policies that they want to come up with.
And if you can't get that through, add an amendment somewhere that says, and any policy that they have for students and the way they carry must apply to police officers on campus also.
Yeah, I'm sure that...
see how they like that. Yeah, see
exactly.
if you can get the police would speak up about that. Yeah, you can carry your gun, but it can't be loaded. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I'll tell you what, we will keep our eyes on Kansas and see what's going on in the next couple of weeks. And thank you so much for your efforts, Representative Blake. We really appreciate that. All right, we got to scoot here because I have run overtime again. 866-TALK-GUN gets you in. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.
A great trigger can make you a better shooter. For over 60 years, Timney triggers have been trusted by hunters and shooters everywhere. Timney triggers are proudly made in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. Installation is easy. Give yourself the Timney Trigger advantage. To see more and order online, go to timneytriggers.com. That's TIMNEY triggers.com.
Every crossbreed holster is handmade based on the design invented by our founder. A Kydex pocket molded around your gun for perfect retention. Leather backing for comfort. Specially designed clips allow you to tuck in your shirt for complete concealment. The highest quality mag carriers and belts sturdy enough to hold any gun. Our holsters come with a lifetime warranty and 2-week try-it-free guarantee. Crossbreed. Conceal and carry the cross. Crossbreedholsters.com.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at shopguntalk.com. Get prepared. Shopguntalk.com.
Smith & Wesson brings 10 years of development to your holster with the new enhanced M&P M2.0 semi-auto pistol. In 940 and 45 with a crisp and lighter trigger pull, the M2.0 has aggressive texture for a great grip, extended stainless steel chassis for rigidity, and 4 palm swell grip inserts for a perfect fit. The remarkable M&P, even better in version 2.0. See it at smith-wesson.com.
Let's go straight to the phones. Line 1, John's with us out of Harvest, Alabama. John, how do we make our point to Hollywood that we don't appreciate them being so anti-gun while they're taking our money with gun-related movies?
Well, in my observation and my experience, Tom, boycotts of the nature of a previous caller having described generally don't work. As you said, you really can rarely organize that sort of thing in a meaningful fashion. And I think the people who spend a lot of time staring at television and going to a whole lot of movies are larger in number than most of us law-abiding, tax-paying, responsible gun owners. But what I advocate is you can actually go to the websites for films and get a hold of the actual contact information or a contact email link to the actual stars and their agents. And if you write a coherent intelligent message expressing exactly about everything you've been talking about in the last half hour, sometimes you actually get through to those people, the Liam Neesons and the Matt Damons, perhaps. If they hear enough of that, and it's not angry, partisan political nonsense, but rather very measured, responsible communication, I think we'd be surprised. I think we'll get a message to those people. I'd like to send a positive message to actor Keanu Reeves. I mean, I haven't seen these films yet, but he's taken the time to learn how to shoot on a combat range, so that when he films these action films, he's noteworthy for lately. He really knows what he's doing, and he looks like he knows what he's doing. So,
well, yeah, because he does know what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had luck in communicating with musicians and whatnot in the past, just by exactly what I said. Rick Derringer communicated with me back one time. G.E. Smith, guitarist of Hall & Oates and the Saturday Night Live band, the Kings out of Canada. Yeah, you never know until you try.
Well, I think it's a great point, John. I appreciate the call. I guess, to find out, what would be interesting would be to make a concerted effort, because here's the thing. If you shotgun it and you hit each entity out there with a number 9 pellet, you don't have much effect. But if you focus all of your energy onto 1 or 2, then you have more impact. Now, switching it from the ballistic side to I'm trying to come up with a metaphor that works here. Basically, what I'm talking about is let's all write or go onto the website of a particular star or a particular movie. I think that might be worthwhile. And, of course, Facebook, being Facebook, might be the way to go. Let's get 10,000 of us to go to a particular star's Facebook page, join it, start following, start making comments, but not rude comments, to John's point, not mean, not snarky, just comments of concern and disappointment. In the first 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 100, you either get ignored or may even get deleted. But you don't ignore 10,000. And we have enough to do that. It's not a bad idea, John. I like where you're going with that. I think we ought to try something like that. We'll work on that. Let's see. Carl is with us out of Pryor, Oklahoma, with a range report. Carl, what'd you take? What'd you get?
Yes, sir, Tom. I got a Ruger LC380. It's pretty cool, nice little pocket gun. But I've got a thing for conversion kits, and I found Ruger makes a conversion kit it's basically the slide and barrel, and it's for 9mm. And then I found online Twisted Industries, they make a conversion kit so you can shoot 22 long rifle out of the same gun.
Really?
So you got one gun, 3 calibers, and it was for my wife, but I think it's mine now.
Okay, I gotta tell you honestly, I was caught by surprise on this one. I did not know that Ruger offered a conversion kit for the LC380 we're not talking about the LCP people, the LC380. Convert it to 9mm. Went online, found it at shopruger.com. It's there. All right, here's my question to you. What's the big difference between the 380 and the 9 in terms of either shooting it or operating it?
Not much. It may depend on what ammo you can make, what ammo you can buy. I've so far just taken it range shooting with my homemade lead bullets. I don't know their rationale by making this conversion kit, but it's pretty cool.
Now, one thing that comes to mind is I would ask you, I would expect there to be a difference in the strength it takes to work the slide. I would think 380 would have a spring that is not as strong as a 9, making it easier to work the slide. Have you experienced that?
I noticed that, and it might, for my size, it's not a big deal, but I guess for someone with smaller stature, perhaps they might need that extra oomph.
Somebody with weaker hands, and I think about somebody that might even have arthritis or something. It'd be a little harder to rack the slide on a pistol. A 380 might be a little bit better choice. And that's why I've kind of liked that mid-size as opposed to the teeny tiny 380s.
Yes. That's kind of what drew me to this particular pistol. Plus, Ruger just makes great products. But I've been I don't know. I've been on a kick for pocket pistols for a couple of years now, and I just kind of gravitated towards this one. And when I found out about the 22 conversion, that I could teach my son how to use it, and it's got a threaded barrel. So threaded barrel, so hit my silencer.
Yep. I see where you're going there.
That's the only reason. That's not the only reason, but basically it just sold me that instant that I saw that they had you could pay more for a threaded barrel. You can get a regular barrel or the threaded. It's up to the customer, of course. But
that is cool. That is a great range report. I mean, being able to shoot a 9 380 and 22 out of the same pistol on the Ruger LC9 conversion kit on your LC380 pistol, That's just very cool. Oh, I know. I was going to ask you, do you happen to know, because they do sell an LC9 pistol, I wonder if there's an LC380 conversion kit for that.
I looked all over, at least from the Ruger website. I couldn't find it. And I looked some of the major gun part distributors, and I could not find that either. So either they don't make it, or maybe it's in development. But I never found one. So I could only find taking a 380 to a 9.
All right, good info. So if you want to do this, you want to start with the LC380 pistol, then you could get the 9mm conversion kit at shopruger.com, and then you can get the 22 conversion kit. So now you can shoot 3 calibers on the same pistol. And if you are wise, like Carl, you can get the threaded barrel and put your suppressor on it, which is even more fun. By the way, speaking of 22 ammo, I just saw a release that, was it Cabela's? Yeah, Cabela's has removed all restrictions on buying 22 ammo. You know, for years now, they've had kind of a what do you call rationing, I guess. You can only buy so much 22 ammo, and they've removed all that. So there is plenty of ammo out there. 9mm ammo, 5.56, 22. A lot of it is not only plentiful, but pretty cheap compared to where it was in the last few years. Now, if you want to compare where it was 10 years ago, fine, but also compare where, cars were and everything else was, 10 years ago. That's not a fair comparison. If you have been storing, I'm not going to say hoarding, storing, investing in ammo over the last few years, now would be a good time to say, what are we going to do with all this stuff? Well, shoot it. Invite a bunch of people out, have a little event, invite coworkers, invite friends, invite people from your church, invite people from your other groups, and say, hey, would you guys like to go shooting? The NSSF found out that half the women said that they would go shooting if only they were asked. It just takes an invitation. And you want to do something for the Second Amendment, you introduce somebody to shooting. Just tell them, look, it's going to be safe, it's going to be fun, and you're going to be successful. And then make sure that they shoot up close. They all have eye and ear protection, every single one of them. And you make the targets really, really easy. So they hit, they smile, they have fun, they want to do it again. You have vaccinated them against all that anti-gun rhetoric, because now their personal experience says that's bunk.
Want your opinion to make a difference? Log on to our website and take the Gun Talk poll, www.guntalk.com. Now, once again, opinion page regular contributor for the Washington Times, here's Tom.
We're talking not just about guns, we're talking about safety quite a lot around here. Because, I really function on that level a lot. A lot of the things I do and have done throughout my life, hiking, skiing, scuba diving, flying airplanes, a lot of the training involved in that is how do you do it safely? And yet I find myself sometimes doing things where you go, not a good choice, not a good decision. What were you thinking? We'll talk a little bit more about that and kind of what you do in your daily life. Where do you spend a lot of your time? In your car. We'll talk a little bit about safety in your car, which may or may not have anything to do with guns in just a second here. But we have some calls. Line 2, Daniel's with us out of Reno, Nevada. Daniel, what you looking for?
Well, I've been doing some training with reloading dry drills. And every time I pull the slide back, the magazine engages. The slide stops. And it gets kind of annoying. And if you use snap caps, those things go flying everywhere. So I was wondering if there's something that I can use that won't engage the slide stop while I'm practicing these reloading drills.
Okay, so you want to be able to put a magazine in, an empty magazine, and basically just to be able to work the gun with an empty magazine and have the slide go forward, not lock back, right?
Correct.
Okay, this is actually going to be easier than you think.
Okay.
The magazine, the slide The follower is what you're looking for. It's a magazine
Right.
follower. They cost $3.50.
Uh-huh.
Buy 2 extra ones and take a file or a Dremel tool to it. You can figure it out real fast where the little bump is that locks up the gun, and just grind it off. Buy 2 of them so that when you screw one up, you can get it with the second one. Now you got $7 into your experiment. And now you have made exactly what you need.
Okay. Well, I know what bump you're talking about. I was just wondering if somebody had already made a follower or something that already had that ground off, but I guess I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of anybody who has done that. But like I say, I mean, I think this is a 5-minute job. I mean, just a hand file, anything like that, you can knock that thing off, and then keep trying it. Just get it to where it just barely works. Don't take off any more than you have to. But I think this is going to work just fine.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, yeah, and Michelle says, and don't forget to change it back. What you probably want to do is dedicate 1 magazine for that, paint it orange or something, so that's your practice mag for that, and just leave that follower in there. You need to have at least 6 magazines anyway, so just convert one of them to your practice mag. All right, so why would I say you want to have 6 magazines anyway? Well, because you need them, because you don't know which ones work. Because you want to go out and shoot a lot, and you don't want to spend so much time loading mags. You want to load a bunch and then shoot a lot. Actually, pretty simple. Frank's on line 4 out of Helena, Montana. Hey, Frank, you're on Gun Talk.
Hi, Tom. I wanted to give you my personal opinion, and just those opinions of who I shoot with on targets. After safety, and of course safety is first, safety. But once you get on the range, our group has found tremendous success in learning best sight acquisition with paper targets. And then once they have reached a certain degree of proficiency, we go to steel targets, which give you an immediate feedback. And I'm only speaking for our group, but it's been very successful.
Oh, I would agree. I think shooting on paper lets you fine-tune, get everything exactly where you want it. You're making holes in the paper. Shooting on steel is just flat fun. As you say, you get that immediate feedback. It's a big shooting gallery. Let me spell out, because, Frank, you mentioned safety. For those who don't know, and a lot of people just go to a range and there's steel targets there and they don't know, there are safety protocols involved when you shoot steel targets. You don't want to be too close.
Distance. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And from the other standpoint is velocity, because if you decide I'm going to shoot my rifle at steel targets, if 3,000 feet per second is kind of the magic number, if your bullet is going around 3,000 feet per second, when it hits the steel, it can go through the steel. I don't care if it's armor plate or what it is. So you need 100 yards for .223 if you're using regular ammo. You may need 300 yards with a 300 Magnum. Otherwise, you're going to shoot holes in somebody's very expensive steel targets. But yes, on handguns, 15 yards is my absolute minimum, and that makes me kind of nervous. If you're like me, probably like a lot of shooters, if you shot a lot of steel, you have picked pieces of copper jacket out of your skin. What do you think, Frank? You ever been there on that one?
I have picked pieces of copper jacket out of my shirt. And out of my neckline, and out of the brim of my hat. So yes, I concur with you. Now, we shoot our Department 223s on paper only, and then we go as close as 7 yards for qualification on our handguns on steel.
Okay, yes, 7 yards on steel is close. That if I were doing that, I would require the use of frangible ammos. 7 yards is too close, frankly, for steel with regular jacket ammo.
I concur with that. But I just want, my point was that we get great sight acquisition and great proficiency with paper, and then we have a lot of fun with steel.
Great point. I like it. Thank you, Frank. One of the things you can do when you're going out shooting paper targets, you think, okay, well, because, just shooting at paper targets, after a while, it doesn't make you any better unless you're working on something. Well, what are you working on? Well, one of the things you can do is get with a buddy and you're shooting on the same target. And this is 7 yards is a good distance. One of you shoots, and the other one tries to put his or her bullet in the same hole. And then that person shoots, and the other one tries to put his or her bullet in the same hole. Well, when you're trying to not just hit a black circle or center of a man-type target, but you're actually trying to put your bullet into the bullet hole that your buddy made, now you're working on everything. You're working on sight alignment. You're working on keeping the gun from moving any more than it has to. But especially, you're working on trigger control, because that's it. That's where everything is. Everything is trigger control. It's not sights. It's not holding the gun steady. It's trigger control. So you might try that one. There's a name for that. I can't remember what it is, but somebody was telling me about this game, and we tried it at the range. It's tons of fun, and it really makes you concentrate. All right, Warren, don't go anywhere. We'll get to you. 866-TALK-GUN. Be right back.
You know and trust Springfield Armory. Now that trusted gunmaker has an AR-15 rifle with all the features you want. The Saint features a mid-length gas system, a heavy tungsten buffer, and a 16-inch chrome Molly barrel with a 1-in-8 twist rate. Plus, the Saint has Bravo Company's Key Mod handguard, the next generation of America's personal defense rifle. See video of the Saint in action at springfield-armory.com. That's springfield-armory.com.
If you carry a gun, you need training. Your concealed carry class was definitely not training. But time, money, and obligations keep you from spending days at a shooting school. The trusted folks at Gun Talk can help. Concealed Carry 1, our DVD featuring the VADA Group, covers what gun, what holster, how to carry, where to wear your gun, and much more. Visit shopguntalk.com. That's shopguntalk.com. Look, this really is life and death. Learn how to stay aware, how to get away, and how to fight if you must. At shopguntalk.com, you can get the 2 DVD set, including Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. No matter what gun you carry, this vital training info can save your life. Learn the draw, the stance, reloading, vital gear from Gun Talk. That's shopguntalk.com. shopguntalk.com.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
Back with you. Warren's with us out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. Warren, do you talk about guns to other people? How do you make that choice?
Basically, only people that I already know well, know their opinion and value it. If somebody, any controversial issue, guns, religion, or whatever, if I don't know where they stand on it and trust their opinion, then I prefer not to discuss it with them.
Now, is it that you don't bring it up, or is it that if they bring it up, you avoid the conversation?
Well, if that's pretty much the answer I would give them. If it was like y'all were talking last week, I believe, a doctor on his questionnaire. Fortunately, my doctor's a gun nut, so I don't have that problem, but yet anyway. But I found that keeps peaceful relationships, especially in business and what have you, medical stuff. The more peaceful it is, the better it works. So.
There you go. Well, I appreciate it, Warren. Thank you for the call. Just saw a report along those lines. We were talking about, what do you tell your doctor if your doctor asks if you own guns? In New York State, 88,000 medical records have been sent to the police. Say what? Yep. The doctors or somebody in the doctor's office of various offices have sent medical records about people who own guns to the police. voluntarily, not required. They just said, hey, here's somebody that owns a gun, and you may want to know about it. I don't know if it's a case of here's somebody who's mentally disturbed or whatever it is. But when your records and all of your medical records are available to pretty much any agency, it's weird how many people can get into them. Not to mention hackers, of course. Not to mention people in the office who just may want to share it. So you just might want to give that some thought when you are volunteering or even responding to a question about, do you own guns? If you do, how do you store them? Because that's the follow-up question. Well, are they loaded? How do you store them? None of your effing business. This email comes in from SJ. Says he just heard the EDC story that I read earlier. Wow, no kidding. Everyday carry. Says always vigilant. Yes. He says range report though. I went to the range about a week ago with my family. It was the first time my two nephews had been together with their mom, my older sister, my dad, and me in a couple of years. Her oldest boy is an Afghanistan vet. Her youngest had never shot before. Man, did we have a great time. I recently paid for my sister's carry class. I like that. And have noticed a change in her knowledge and interest in guns. We started with a .380 pistol, big smiles. Then a 9mm pistol, bigger smiles. Then we moved up to an AR-15. Wow, I think their mouths are still stuck in the ear-to-ear smile mode. Oh, by the way, when we got to the range, I realized that I had been there once before. It was the same place my dad took me for the first time I ever shot a gun. It was a double-barrel shotgun years ago. I will never forget that day. Ah, great range report. He wraps it up. He says, locking doors. I use the key fob that's already in my hand to lock the doors as soon as I enter. We were talking about locking the door in your car as soon as you get in. He says, also, don't forget about locking the house doors immediately, too. Here's a thought for you. If you have a electric garage, so you get in, your garage door opens, you drive in. Do you get out of your car? Think about this now. You drive in, you get out of your car, you go enter your house, you push the button to drop the garage door. Why wouldn't you sit in your locked car, push the button that you have, the remote, and drop the door to your garage while you're in the car? Also, and this is a big one, this is a serious one, when you're filling up your car at the gas station, when you get out of the car, lock the door before you walk back to the pump. Why? Have you seen the videos? They call them sliders, people who will actually slide into your car. They're on the other side of you when you're pumping gas, open the car door, reach in, steal stuff. Or imagine this, particularly if you're a woman, you're pumping gas and somebody opens the door and slides in, and they're laying down behind your seat, right by the back seat. You drive off. Now you got somebody in your car with you. As soon as you step out of your car to pump gas, lock the doors. Imagine if you go into the convenience store. Holy cow. Let's see. Let's get in real 1 minute. Okay, we don't have time. Al, don't go anywhere. Mitchell, we're going to get to you. I don't have quite enough time to get you in for this session, but we'll get to you when we come on the backside. The whole idea of cars and safety, people tend to think that you spend so much time in it, you don't think about your safety in your car. You think about, I'm going to put on my seatbelt. Great, okay. But you don't think about locking doors. You don't think about, when I drive, do I stop far enough behind the car in front of me that I could drive around it if I needed to? You're stopped in traffic. Could you drive around the car in front of you if you had to? Or have you pulled in too close behind them and you don't have room to go around? How do you know? If you can see where that car's rear tires touch the pavement, you have enough room to drive around left or right. Important? Yeah. Do we forget it? Yeah, we all do. But it's one of those things we have to work on. Safety is constant. we were just talking about Hollywood and how left-leaning they are and how anti-gun they are. I just see this article just pops up right now. Tim Allen, the actor, comedian, says that living in Hollywood right now is akin to Nazi Germany. He said, you got to be real careful around here. He says, you get beat up if you don't believe what everybody else believes. This is like 30s Germany. He is an outspoken conservative on one of his shows, but he is also a right-leaning conservative. He just has to be real careful about saying anything about it. Tom Selleck has said it has absolutely cost him work being affiliated with the NRA. Line 1, Al, Rogue River, Oregon. What do you own there, Al?
I got a great, fantastic little Super Red Hawk in a 44 Magnum.
Nice.
And stainless steel. And I was wondering, I don't reload it like I used to. And I was wondering that Hornady makes an FTX Lever Evolution.
Oh, yeah. That's with the pointed bullets. Yeah, that's some pretty cool ammo.
Yeah. I was wondering, is that going to be perhaps too much pressure for that handgun?
No. It's a standard pressure. They can't go over the maximum SAMI. That's the agency that regulates that. There are pressures that are standardized for that cartridge. So, no, that is absolutely safe in your Ruger Super Red Hawk. And with those pointed bullets, if you're doing any long-range shooting or hunting, those will get you extra range because they don't have a big old flat point on it. You got a pointed front end on it. So that would be a good choice.
That's exactly what I use it for.
Okay, cool. You're safe. You're good to go on that. Look, listen, Al, I got to run because I got them lined up. Mitchell's in Hartford, Connecticut on 4. Hey, Mitchell, what's the deal? How are you carrying your Glock?
I carry my Glock with the chamber empty. I'm in Vermont.
Okay, are you required to carry it with the chamber empty in Vermont?
No, I'm not. I carry it for safety reasons that way.
Why?
I won't have any accidental discharges.
Okay, I don't know if you've got a radio on behind you, but if you do, kind of turn that off. We're getting a bounce back there. Why'd you buy a Glock if you're afraid that it will go off?
Because it's out of safety.
What?
I'm going to turn the radio off.
Yeah, turn the radio off. That's what I said. You have to have the radio off because there's a delay. You can't hear us and yourself at the same time.
Now.
Okay, so why did you buy a Glock if you're afraid that it's going to go off?
It was because it's so lightweight.
Well, all the guns are lightweight. What you're doing is you're but you're carrying an unloaded gun.
The chamber empty. I practice loading the chamber with blank cartridges.
All right. How's that work one-handed?
It doesn't.
Yeah. If you're fighting somebody off with one hand, or if you're trying to protect a wife or a loved one or something with one hand, and now you're going to pull your gun out and it's going to go click. And now you're going to say, yeah, but I practiced this. Yeah, you didn't practice that. Here's the deal. If you are afraid your gun will go off, you got the wrong gun or you don't have enough training. My guess is in this case, you don't have enough training. Go find yourself a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 day class where you shoot it all the time. If you are afraid, and it's not just Mitchell, if you are afraid to carry your gun with a round in the chamber, something is wrong, and it's not wrong with the gun. Gun's not going to go off by itself. It's only going to go off if you pull the trigger. So you either have to train yourself to keep your finger off the trigger, or maybe, nobody's going to want to hear this, maybe you shouldn't be carrying a gun. If you don't trust yourself not to pull the trigger when you're not supposed to, I'm going to just say it. You probably shouldn't be carrying a gun. Simple as that. If you disagree, holler 866-TALK-GUN.